Take a shape that suits you, seated or reclined. As you settle in, try to take up some intentional space, pressing a little bit into the earth to lift and lengthen through the spine. Soften the shoulders down and back. Remember, if you are sitting like this, we can grab that front leg and pull it in a little bit to get some more support for the low back. You can let go of it or you can keep holding it, but it does make the seat a little more accessible. Feel free to add any other movement, looking from side to side or tilting the ear from side to side, whatever serves you. The reading today is Bringing Yoga to Life, Donna Farhi, a goodie. And this is from a chapter called Sloth. How we use the knowledge of death as a tool for breaking through inertia and awakening to life depends on our attitudes and beliefs. Whether you believe in an afterlife is inconsequential. The important thing is to use the contemplation of death skillfully and to your advantage. As a child, I was fascinated by the TV shows Mission Impossible and Get Smart. I was never sure which I liked better, the serious venture starting with the ominous catchphrase, "Your mission, should you choose to accept it," with fatal portents at every turn, or the improbable shenanigans of Maxwell Smart, Agent 86, and his sidekick, 99, neither of whom seemed to get any closer to death than a bad cold. Who could dislike a character who, on being awakened in the middle of the night by a phone call from the chief and told, "We're facing a terrible crisis, the possible destruction of the entire world," would reply, "Well, couldn't it have waited until morning?" I imagine that Agent 86 came all the closer to our hearts because we see in him some part of ourselves that wants to pretend that the show is never going to end and that we have lots of time to dawdle. When we're in the process of trying to find some internal motivation that can break through the inertia of sloth, I believe we need a little dose of both of these characters. We have to believe that there are serious consequences to inaction, but at the same time, we need to be able to take ourselves and our life lightly. Our Mission Impossible persona must believe that death is an imminent possibility, while our Agent 86 is aware that it's all a bit of a hoax and that while our body will die, we can never die. It's a precarious balance. To lean too far in one direction makes the spiritual path one of grim urgency. To lean too far in the other direction makes our time on earth a pathetic charade. When we put death in our back pocket, we use the awareness of impermanence like a little burr in our pants to keep us from becoming too complacent. Yoga is not a fear or shame-based philosophy, for fear rarely succeeds as the catalyst for change. Joy is a far greater motivator than fear, and that is what yoga practice is intended to generate. All right, gently inhaling, arms up when you're ready in your own pace. Exhaling, arms down. We'll just take it straight into a twist. Inhaling up, easy exhale to the left side. Hug the belly, inhale up, easy exhale to the right side, back and forth. If you want to stay on one side, you're welcome to do that. Just gently moving. Making sure that we're hugging through that torso so that it's not pulling on the low back. Maybe the hands touch overhead, maybe they don't. And we usually start on the left side, so today we're going to shake it up and start on the right side. Pause with the hands over on that right side. Take a few breaths here, pushing into the sitting bones, lift and lengthen, spiral around. Soften that back shoulder if you can. Maybe even pick up that arm off the floor and set it somewhere else, maybe off to the side, or let it float if that feels better, but pay attention to that back shoulder. Leaving the torso twisted to that right side, we'll sweep the back arm up. Left hand's gonna come to the right shoulder. Flip the back palm up a little bit, soften that shoulder down. It can stay a little bit lower. We're gonna tip the left elbow towards the left leg like we're making a rainbow with the back arm, sweeping a little arc in the sky. And then we'll hinge, maybe sweep one more arc in the sky. Leave the hand on the shoulder, extend through the back hand, reaching until you feel it on the front side of that right armpit. Both arms will come up. Big inhale, climb the rope ladder, add some wrist rolls or anything that feels comfortable here. And when it makes sense to you and you're ready to take it over to the left side, it'll be an inhale to lift and an exhale to spiral over to the left. Same invitation, a few breaths here to get settled, soften the shoulders down. Paying extra attention to that back shoulder, trying to keep it away from the ear. Gently release the back hand off the floor, palm up to the sky, soften that left shoulder down. Right hand's gonna gently come over and touch that left shoulder. Make sure that the elbow is down. It'll help make everything softer. And then we make our rainbows here. We tip the right elbow out in front and sweep the back arm up a little bit and then come back. If it feels nice, you can do a bunch. If it feels not so sure, do one nice and slow just to see how it feels. Gently extend through that back arm, just reaching behind you till we feel it in that left armpit, left chest. Then we'll come back to center anytime you're ready. Nice. Seated cat-cows. You can hold the front if that's easier to help kind of give that lift in the chest, or you can hold the legs, whichever one you want to. Inhale, pelvis tilts forward, we gaze up. Exhale, we tuck the chin and scoop the tailbone towards those ankles a little bit. Remember, we're not trying to round into a C here for that bone health. We really want to pay extra attention to the sternum and the breastbone here, but we're just tucking the chin a little bit, maybe looking down at the feet. As much movement here as you want. Back to the center, we'll switch the crisscross. If you have a lead leg, switch it up, grab that outside leg, snug it in a little bit so you can sit up tall. Left ear to left shoulder, we'll just gently pause, lifting through that top ear, holding the leg so we can sit up extra tall. We'll come up through center, right ear to right shoulder when you're ready. Back through center, we'll lightly tuck the chin a little bit. Reach through the crown of the head. Remember, this is more about lengthening along the back of the neck than it is about trying to close the space between the chin and the chest. We'll bring the gaze back to center and start to lift the gaze. So we look up, we press the bottom chin forward, we look up, we push the bottom chin forward, and then maybe we look up one more time. Heavy shoulders here, still grabbing that front leg to help pull the arms down. Yeah. To center when you're ready. We'll take the chin over to the left side, peeking, and then draw the right shoulder back. And then peek a little more, draw the right shoulder back. Take one more breath here, trying to invite space on the right side of the neck. Gently come through center, we'll take it over to the other side. Imagining the chin stacked over that right shoulder. Doesn't matter if it really is. We peek behind, we draw the left shoulder back. Peek behind, we draw the left shoulder back one more time, and then soften and take a breath here. Bring it back through center when you're ready. So instead of looking down, this one we're kind of pulling the chin back. So I'll get a little bit closer so you can see. Mosey over. So normally we're doing this. Today we're going to be thinking that someone's pushing the chin and we're inviting the head to come back a little bit. So it feels a little bit like you're tightening the muscles underneath the jaw here. So just imagine that like a bug flew by and you just went, eee, and like tried to hide your face and bring it back a little bit. So just a few times you're hugging it back and releasing, and then hugging it back and releasing. And then we'll come back to the hands that we did the other day on the collarbone. So you just make a little bird, the L and L. We place the hands on the collarbones. Elbows are nice and low to the body so that you can gently pull down and you can look up a little bit. If it feels nice, you can just hang on to them and hold the pressure, or you can move with the breath. Inhale, we release everything. Exhale, we draw the hands down and we lift the gaze a little bit. If you want to here, as an exploration, you could start to turn the head a little bit to one side while you're pulling down. Turn the head a little bit to the other side, more like we're lowering the ears. You could certainly look to one side and the other, but inviting that awareness of the ear, dropping to one side and pulling down might feel nice. Give yourself a chance to do it with the other lead hand. So whichever one's on top now becomes the bottom. We come back and we do it. Usually it feels a little different. Just a few more breaths to explore the space. And we'll come back through center. We'll meet in tabletop when you're ready. Pad under the knees if you want to. You can bring blocks to the front if you want to. I'm just going to add my blanket under the knees. We'll move through some cat-cows, wrists under their shoulders, knees under the hips, tops of the feet touching the floor if we can get them. In your own time, as we inhale, we're going to tip the pelvis towards those thighs, belly drops, we're going to gaze out. So we exhale, we tuck the chin, scoop the tailbone, and press the floor away. Double check those elbow creases. Take a peek at them and make sure that they're pointed towards the top of the mat. When they point towards the short edge of your mat, that helps facilitate that rotation of your biceps, so we get a little more opening through the chest here. Remember, if you like to lift through those upper shoulder blades into your cat pose, you're welcome to do that. Just don't push the floor away when we do that, because that puts the strain in the front side of the chest. But you can soften the hands and imagine that you have little puppet strings lifting the shoulder blades. When you're ready, you're going to extend that right leg out behind. Wrap the right hip towards the floor a little bit so the hips are facing the floor. We don't want to open up to the side. Can we bring the left arm out in front, dial the left thumb up to the sky. Hug the belly, push the floor away. Inhale, we're going to reach in both directions. And as we exhale, we're going to drop the toes and the fingers down. And then inhale back up and lengthen. Exhale, we toe tap, finger tap. One more time. And then we'll switch sides. Right arm out, thumb up to the sky, left toes out, lift that left leg up, and then make sure the hip is level with the other one. And then inhale to lengthen, exhale to touch down. Inhale to lift and lengthen, exhale to touch down, maybe one more. And then we'll switch sides again, back to that left side. Right leg out and lifted, foot flexed, left arm out and lifted, thumb up to the sky. Push the floor away, make sure that right arm is not bent. We're just holding it here. Can we take one more breath here? Left hand comes down, we'll bend the right knee, flex that right foot, and pulse it up to the sky just a few times. Can we bring right knee towards right elbow, and then lift the heel back up to the sky? Right knee towards the elbow, and up to the sky. One more time. Set it down, shake the hips out a little bit, peeking over from side to side. Get yourself settled with the hands, pulling the fingertips towards the heel of the hand so you've got full strength. Left leg out, foot flexed, lifted. Right arm out, lifted. Lengthen through that arm so that you can feel long side waist. And just hold it here for a moment. Hug the belly, push the floor away. When you're ready, right hand comes down, bend the left knee, pulse the left foot a few times. Then bring left knee towards left elbow and lift the left foot back up to the sky. Knee towards the elbow, back up to the sky. One more time. Underneath, back up, set it down. Optional child's pose if you want it. Knees can be open wide, knees can be closed, or you can just walk back into that high kneel to shake out the wrists and massage. Make it more your practice than mine. If child's pose is your jam, take it here. Let that be soothing and comforting. It's a great pose for putting that pressure on the belly to give you a sense of calm Lowers the blood pressure. Nice for the hips, for the low back, but not everybody likes it. So whatever this looks like for you is perfect. If you are in child's pose, ask yourself if there's something different you want to do with the hands. You may like to sweep the hands around towards the heels, palms up to the sky. You'll feel the shoulders just soften towards the floor. That may be comfy. You may want to bring the hands behind the neck in little prayer hands. So lots of choices. Take a few more breaths here. We'll meet back in tabletop. When you get there, feel free to peek over the hips. We'll bring the left leg around to the front. If you've got your blocks, walk them in a little bit. And start to build that stable base. You're going to hug the belly, scoop the tailbone towards that right knee until you feel some awareness in the right thigh, maybe even the right hip. We're going to pick up the left foot and scooch it forward a little bit more. Then press the hips forward. This is where we're going to be mindful. If we have any low back discomfort today, stay with your hips stacked over the knee. Don't press forward here because that may be a little bit too much for that low back. But you're welcome to come here and then back out if that's not comfortable. Otherwise, we're sinking the hips forward, hugging the belly. Getting into the psoas here. We're going to sweep the right arm up, lift and lengthen from the bottom ribs out through those fingertips. Can we lift the gaze, jut the chin forward, lift the gaze, jut the chin forward, and then allow the right arm to come behind you or out to the side as much as it will go, within reason here. Could you draw the left heel towards the body any more for support? Soften back out of the shape, arm comes down. Nice, now we're going to bring the blocks in close for that SI joint stability here. Blocks close, fingertips on the block. Press the heart forward, tuck the back toes. Glide through that back heel till the knee comes off, and then squeeze the thighs together so that we know we're stable. We know that the hips are pointed towards the short edge of the mat. We'll come back down, undo. Let the hips come back, straighten the left leg, heel down, toes up. We should be able to get into the back of that left leg here. Choices. We can soften that left knee and hinge forward a little bit. We can leave the hands on the blocks. Inhale to lift and lengthen, and exhale to slightly hinge forward. Either way, we are lengthening through that left heel, pushing it through the floor, pulling the toes towards the nose. Draw the right hip forward a little bit. Sometimes we get into this and the hips kind of open up to the side, but we're trying to keep the hips exactly like they were before, parallel to the short edge of our mat. If you've been here a little while and you feel like you want to walk the blocks forward, you could. If it feels like it's too much and you want to walk back out of it, you can come back out of it and come up even more. So just allow that space to happen. Gently bend that left knee back. We'll put the left knee back down and bring the right leg up. We start with that stable base, kind of wrapping left hip around, hugging thighs together, lightly drawing right heel towards that left knee. Nice stable here. And then when you're ready, pick up the right foot, scooch it forward a little bit, press the hips forward. Hug the belly. Right hand can stay on that right thigh. We'll sweep the left arm up. Then draw the chin forward, lift the gaze, draw the chin forward, lift the gaze, and then allow that left arm to open behind or out to the side as much as you want to. Hug the belly. Can we draw the right heel any closer to the body to help us stay stable? The more we can lengthen through those fingertips, as if someone is trying to grab your hand, the more we're going to open up in that psoas. Gently let everything float down. We'll bring those blocks nice and close for that SI joint stability. Hands on the blocks, roll the shoulders back, press the heart forward, tuck the toes. Glide through that back heel, squeeze the thighs together. And there are, of course, choices here. If you felt like you wanted to try lifting one hand at a time, you could. If you hug the belly, you could try lifting both hands. You don't have to. Gently come down, untuck the toes, hips slide back, we straighten the right leg, heel down, toes up, wrap the left hip forward, make sure that we're not opening to the left. This is that one where we can take our right hand and place the back of our hand on our low back here to feel whether or not our hips feel like they're level. It's pretty easy to tell if your hips are kind of pointed off to the side. So as long as we can put our hand back here and feel like we're close to parallel, we're good. Walk the blocks wherever you need them. Climb out of that side ribs. We want to lift and then hinge forward a little bit. Double check that you're not locking that front knee. Sometimes we just let it drop right in. Gently release that right leg back into our little tabletop. Take a moment to shimmy out through the hips. We can peek over the right hip of the right toes or the left toes, depending on how your back feels. Bring the toes together a little bit so the knees are wide. We're going to tuck the toes under and start to walk the hands back in the middle until the knees come up. And then we'll walk forward and put the knees back down. See if this time we can close the knees, walk the hands on the outside and bring the knees up in the middle. Nice. Could we balance here on top of those toes? Could we consider opening the knees out a little bit and then closing the knees? Maybe mirror the arms. Think about this like chair pose. Could we lean a little bit to the left and imagine lightening on that right leg? You don't have to pick the feet up, just imagine that you could. And then over to the other side, same thing, heavy on the right side, imagining that we could lighten that left leg. Nice. Hands are going to come down and we'll slowly come into our halfway lift. Hands will come to the thighs, unless you want to leave them on the floor. This is your forward fold, decide what you want. Feet should be parallel to each other. Lengthen through the belly, soften the belly down onto those thighs. Heavy head, shake it a little yes, a little no. And remember, this is a pose where we should feel it only in the back of the legs. You may get a gentle, soft stretch for the low back, but we don't want strain here. Pick up the toes, start to push the floor away, scoop the tailbone towards the sky. We'll sink down into chair, hips nice and low so that our back can be flat. Arms will come out and we'll push up a little bit and pause. Push up a little and pause. Up a little and pause. Up a little and pause until you make your way all the way up. Awesome. Shake it out a little bit. Any movement that you need, especially after we did those hip flexor kind of space for the psoas. When you sweep, press the hips forward so you can get a little more opening in that space. And then sweep and press that hip forward. Nice. All right, if you had a little blankie on the mat, go ahead and move it out of the way so we don't step on it. We'll find some warrior two here. A couple ways to get into it. I always like to jump into it. So feet in the middle of the mat, hands at those collarbones, knees bent, and we'll hop out into warrior two. Once we get there, we'll take the left toes towards the top of the mat, right toes in a little bit, bend that left knee, make sure that you feel stable here. If you feel like you could, maybe for just one breath, we think about walking the front foot forward enough that we could get the front thigh parallel to the floor. Hug the belly, lift through those hip bones, and then walk the back foot in a little bit so you're not so overstretched. Spiraling left leg out towards the side, arms are going to float out, palms up to the sky, relax the shoulders down. Just moving with the breath. Inhale, everything straight, arms overhead. Exhale, soften in, looking to the left. Inhale, everything straight overhead. This time as we exhale, we're going to look to the right. Back and forth. Find a little rhythm here. Settle into warrior two. Relax the shoulders, flip the palms down. Back hand's going to drop down, let it rest heavy. Front palm flips up, sweep it up, and then rebend that front knee a little bit. Everything comes down. Left hand's going to reach out in front, lengthen as far as we can, bend the arm and bring it down to that front leg. Make sure that we're paying attention to our left shoulder. What we don't want is to sag here. You really want to push away so we're nice and lifted. Back hand sweeps towards the floor and comes overhead. Draw the shoulders in line with each other. Bring that bottom rib forward in order to draw the top rib back. Hug the belly back up to center. Straighten the legs. Dial the toes towards the long edge of the mat, and we'll take it straight to the other side. Right toes become the top, left toes dial in. Take one solid breath to see if we can get the front thigh parallel to the floor. Hug the belly, lift through the hip bones, push through the back heel. And then if you're not comfortable here, heel toe that back leg in a little bit so it's not such an intense stretch. Double check that we can still see the toes, that this front thigh is spiraling out. Arms out nice and easy, palms up. Inhale. And then exhale, flip those palms down, reach. So last time we did arms up and legs straight. This time we're going to do the reverse of that. We're going to straighten the leg and let the hands float down. Palms facing you, and then we'll sweep them back out. And then down when we straighten the leg and back out. Can you add looking in that opposite direction? Looking to the left, coming back to center, and looking to the right. Slow it down a little bit, take it with the breath. If you weren't already doing it, can you make sure that a few times you're switching the hand that's closest to your body? I'm sure you're already doing it because we're so good at knowing that it's all asymmetrical. But just a reminder in case anybody needed it. One more time and then we'll meet back in some powerful version of your warrior two here. Flip the palms up, relax the shoulders down, then palms down and we extend in both directions. Could we breathe here? Nice and easy. Feel it all the way up to the collarbones. Whew. Hands are going to float down. Straighten the front leg. Dial the toes in. Heels come in. And we'll pop into a little bit of our goddess pose. Wrists will crisscross in the front. Soft knees. Inhale. We sink down as much as we want to. Exhale. Big hands. Like we're paddling through molasses. Inhale. We sweep down. Exhale, we come up. Play with it. Maybe we do one where we sink as low as we can, and then we do one where we just barely bend the knees, and then we come up. And then we do one as low as we can, and then we come up, and then we barely bend the knees. Find something in the middle that feels powerful. Little fists making the point towards the face. Pull down. Make sure you feel it in the belly. Can we go straight to both heels? Hug the belly, pop up and down, and up and down, and up and down. Maybe one more. Nice. Let the hands come down. Hinge forward a little bit. Hands are going to come to those thighs. without crazy cranking and torquing here. It's a gentle twist, so resist the temptation to super push. Gently look over the left, come through center, and look over the right. So you should feel this in a couple places. You might feel it in those inner thighs. You might just feel it through the side waist. You might feel it through the neck, but just gently looking from side to side. We'll come back to center. Back into goddess pose and press all the way up. Heel toe in, deliberately moving the feet towards each other, heels towards each other, toes, heels to all the way back. Find your mountain pose here in the middle, feet about hip distance apart. Start by bending the knees, send the hips back, lift the toes, and then rock forward a little bit. Just see if you can move back and forth without overly thinking about it, but notice that the buns are going to come back to counterbalance. The knees have to bend when we lean back a little bit. You can hold the waist, might make you more stable. You can let the arms come out to the side if that feels better. I definitely like holding on to my hips. We'll meet back in mountain pose. Soften the shoulders down. Root down through the left side of the body. Remember, we're pushing through that left leg to get nice and tall. Release the right leg out to the side, foot flexed. Can we toe tap and pick the toes back up just a couple times? Then bring it back, set it down, and we'll switch sides. Shift the weight to that right side, push down so we feel tall and able. That pushing lifts the right foot, the left foot up a little bit. Flex the foot, sweep it out, toe tap, toe tap, toe tap, and then gently bring it back when you are ready. All right, shake it out, march in place a little bit. When we're marching, we're kind of trying to roll the ankle forward a little bit so we can get that movement through. So it's kind of like you're hopping from side to side. Get a little bit of that movement through the hips. Nice, we'll shake it out. All right, working on the shoulders here. Remember, the most important thing is that we don't want to feel the shoulder rolling in when we do this. We're going to sweep the right arm up overhead. The thumb's just pointing behind. We lift and reach. Bend that right elbow to tap the right shoulder blade. Don't let the hand cross over to the other side of the body because that starts to be crabby for the shoulder. So right hand is tapping right shoulder blade. Then we lift the elbow up to the sky a little bit. Nice. Left arm out to the side, sweep down, bend the elbow, and start to walk it softly, resting wherever it's going to rest. Two directions here. Inhale, we're lifting through that top elbow. Exhale, we're softening and rolling the left shoulder down. All while keeping the turkey timer in. Knit those bottom ribs together. Take a few breaths. The point here is not to cut off your circulation. If you feel tingling, you're striving a little bit too much. Just energetically lift through the top shoulder, soften and roll left shoulder down. Maybe one more breath. Try to level the chin out with the floor. Sometimes we think if we look down, we can reach further. Level that chin out. Sweep the arms all the way out. Shake them out. Add a few hugs. Nice and low. Move slow so you can see what it feels like in the shoulders. Notice the difference between that right shoulder and the left shoulder. Take it easy. Same thing, other side when you're ready. Shake it out. Left arm sweeps up, thumb behind you. Bend the elbow and start to tap that left shoulder blade. Lift the left elbow up high to the sky. Allow the hand to anchor wherever it's going to anchor. Right arm out, thumb to the floor, sweep, and tuck it back there somewhere. Inhale, we lift through the top elbow. Exhale, we soften the right shoulder. Maybe we move the hand a little bit. Level the chin out, knit the bottom ribs together. Push the floor away. See if you can stand a little taller. Notice what it does to the breath here. Everything is stretching, so you're probably going to feel like you can't take those same deep breaths, but try to find a softness to it. Big windmill. When you're ready, let it all go. Shake it out. We'll take the feet a little bit wider, toes dialed out. As we inhale, we're going to sweep the arms out, press the chest forward, lift the gaze. And as we exhale, we're going to hug back. I'm going to hug down low. It feels a little nicer for my shoulders, but you could hug anywhere you want. It could be across, it could be down low, it could be just swinging the arms across, so whatever feels nice here. Inhale, lift, and exhale, hug. We could start to add a heel lift if you want to. Doesn't matter if we walk forward. You might. When we inhale, allow the body to float forward. The heels might pop up. And then we come back down. One or two more. Just play, see what you feel here. Then we'll meet back on the mat. Palms are going to come together behind the back. Interlace the fingers, draw the knuckles back. See if we can imagine spiraling the elbows any closer together. When we bring those elbows together, you get a broadness through here. Same thing though, we're not rolling like this. Want to knit the ribs, roll, and squeeze the elbows together so you get a nice opening across the chest. Could we lower left ear to left shoulder just a smidge? You don't have to go far to feel this in the neck. Back to center, right ear to right shoulder. Back to center, and then we'll walk the hands over to the left and look to the right. Spiral the elbows together. Through center, hands to the right, gaze to the left, spiral the elbows together, hug the belly. Release, shake it out. And we'll make our way down to the floor in any way that you want to. We haven't done Malasana prayer squat in a while. That's what I'll demonstrate, but you know you can go down through little tabletop into our buns, whatever you want. But if you're doing Malasana prayer squat, legs a little bit wider than the hips, toes dialed out, inhale, arms up. As we exhale, we bend the knees and the hands come down through heart center. So once we get here, you know we can do the same thing. We could bring the hands down and slowly walk ourselves back, or we could stay in Malasana prayer squat. So decide if you're coming down, we can bring the knees down into tabletop. So just know that there are lots of options here. If you're staying in your Malasana prayer squat, hands squeeze, elbows push, and then we climb out as much as we can. Nice. Maybe we tap the toes. Gracefully, not gracefully, however, we're gonna get down. Sweep the legs around, recline, take a head nest with you if you want one. Take a moment to ground the low back here. A nice way to do that is to hug the knees into the chest and start to lift the feet up a little bit. Almost like you've got that chair pose with the knees into the chest. The more we put the weight up there, the more it should ground that middle back, low back. You could rock a little bit from side to side here, or with the feet lifted and the knees bent, we could gently trace a little figure 8 over us. Allow the feet to drop. We'll make circles with the knees, like we're tracing little circles in the ceiling. Left leg will stretch out long, right leg into the belly. Hover that left leg if we can. We'll point and flex both feet. Add some ankle circles, add some windshield wipers. Left heel taps down to the floor and left leg lifts all the way up high to the sky. Push through the heel, pull the toes towards the nose. Left leg nice and straight. We could add the left hand to the outside of the leg if you wanted to while keeping that right knee in. Can we lower that left leg down 2 times and bring it right back here? Hug the belly, lower it down. Remember, if you feel any discomfort in the left hip, bend that leg and just heel tap it down. Sometimes the weight of the whole leg feels uncomfortable on that hip. Nice, then we'll lift that right leg up. So now we've got both legs straight up to the sky. Hug the belly, arms will come out to the side, palms down, somewhere comfortable. Soften the shoulders, walk the chest up the mat a little bit. Open and close. Just gently let them open a little bit, doesn't have to be max, and then use the inner thighs to squeeze them back together. Then we'll point the toes and start to open and crisscross, open and crisscross. So normally when we do these little crisscrosses, take a look at those knees. Normally the knees are kind of pointed more or less towards your face. What happens if we allow the knees to rotate out and we cross at the ankles? You should look like a little ballerina. The knees can be bent, but it'll swivel a little bit so you can see. So instead of just legs straight crisscrossing like this, we're dialing the knees out. Feet have these lovely little ballerina points and we'll crisscross at the ankles here. So you can open as much as you want to, but really letting there be a nice bend in those legs. Then we'll come back to the normal way that we do it and start to crisscross at the ankles, and then at the knees, and then at the thighs. Moving our way back up to the knees, back up to the ankles, crisscrossing nice and tight. Hug the left knee in, lower that right leg all the way down. You can heel tap once, then let it hover. Hug the belly, we'll point and flex. Circles, run those ankles through their paces here. Add anything you want to. A few times here, we're going to keep that left knee right where it is, squeeze it in, flex the right foot and lift the right heel up and lower that right leg down a couple times. Plant both feet down, knees up, feet about hip distance apart. Cat-cows. Inhale, we tip the pelvis to the thighs, low back comes off that mat. Exhale, we scoop the tailbone and push the feet. Take about 3 more of those. And then this next one looks a little bit like a bridge pose, but we're not coming up as high. The point here is to imagine that we're hugging the bottom hip bones towards the bottom ribs in that little bit of a crunch while we push the feet in. So imagine that we're trying to slide a piece of paper underneath your buns. You're not lifting everything up in bridge pose. So when you are ready, hands nice and easy supporting the body off to the sides, press the feet, hug the belly, start to pull the bottom hip bones towards the bottom ribs until you feel the barest bit of air under your buns, and then put it right back down. Take a breather and regroup. Push the feet, hug the belly, scoop the tailbone, and pull the bottom hip bones towards the bottom ribs, and then set them back down. Give yourself a chance to play. Sometimes it's odd, and it takes a couple rounds just to feel through it. But you should feel very grounded through the chest and those back ribs, but not any support for the buns here. 1 or 2 more. It should feel like a little bit of a crunch on the bottom part of the body, but the shoulders are soft, face is soft. Nice. Then we'll do some bridge pose 3 times with your own breath. Make sure that you don't have any head nest here. Full support of the mat so that when we're lifting up, we're not adding extra weight on those shoulders. Plant the feet, hug the belly, scoop the tailbone when you're ready. Inhale to lift, pressing up. Then exhale to come back down. 3 times with your own breath, but don't rush. On the 4th one, you're welcome to stay up as much as you want to. On the 4th one, we'll play with the alignment once you get up into bridge pose. Think about scooping the tailbone a little bit more towards the sky. Squeeze the thighs together, lift the chest towards the chin, lengthen the back of the neck. If you like to bring the hands together underneath, you can. We'll meet back down on the mat when you get there. Allow the soles of feet to come together and the knees to open wide into cobbler's pose. Feel free to bring that head nest back if you had it. If you like blocks here, you're welcome to put blocks underneath for that cobbler's pose. We do get short-waisted once the legs open out, so plant the elbows, walk the shoulders up the mat, allow the hands to take any shape that makes sense to you, and start to visualize whether or not the feet are in the midline of the body, the arms are equidistant from the legs. If you're inclined to add some effort here, you're welcome to. You can always just do a slight little squeeze of the feet and hug the belly and then let that be enough. You can do more. I'm just going to hang out and let gravity slowly open those legs. Bring the awareness to the breath. Maybe you try a few exhalations with that open throat sensation, that ujjayi breath that's like the fogging the mirror, but with the lips closed. Gently squeeze those legs back together. Right leg, we're going to lift it up and cross it over left leg, coming into that Gomukhasana, knee on top of knee cross. Hug the knees into the chest. Gently let the knees drift towards the belly button. Hands can come to the shins, the knees, they can stay on the floor, whatever feels comfortable here. Gentle stretch through those hips. Lift both of the legs up high to the sky. And change the crisscross. That right leg's going to come under, left leg on top, bend the knees, move those knees towards the belly button, flex the feet, let the heels descend and the hands rest wherever makes sense to you. Pick up the head and tuck the chin a little bit. Sometimes when we get these legs settled, the chin starts to jut up and we don't want the chin higher than our forehead. So we may need to pick up the head a tiny bit. You can release the legs, plant them back down. We'll stretch left leg out, right knee in, and take it straight into a twist. That right knee is going to come all the way across, arms out wide. Walk the shoulders up the mat again, and soften into whatever twist you'd like here. If you want some work, you're welcome to do that. If you want to take a bind, you are welcome to do that. Pay particular attention to your belly button. We want to have the low back supported, and if the belly button is sagging towards the floor, our low backs can be crabby. So hug the belly, scoop the tailbone towards that bottom leg. It should feel a little bit of like an awareness to the belly button, almost like someone took some thread and pulled it back towards your spine. That's what we're looking for. When you're ready, we'll roll back through center. You can feel free to add something before we twist to the other side, windshield wipers, anything at all. Eventually, right leg will stretch out, left leg will come in, give it a squeeze, and then take it straight across the body into a twist. Hug the belly, scoop the tailbone towards that bottom leg, walk the shoulders up the mat. See if we can evenly distribute the weight to the best of our ability. Maybe adding a little more intentional reach through the left hand to help soften that left shoulder down. You can come back through center, hug both knees in, give yourself a squeeze, open those knees out a little bit wider. You could lift the heels up if you wanted to come into happy baby, or you can just let the feet stay low. But rock a little bit, add whatever you'd like. And then make your way into your resting shape, into Shavasana. If you want to take a supported bridge pose, that might be nice, as long as you don't mind having the hips higher. If you do your supported bridge pose, make sure we take that head nest away again. You would simply lift the hips up and slide your block underneath, but low. Just one, so you've got a nice broad rectangle to rest on. Walk the shoulders up the mat. You can walk the feet away a little bit and rest here. As with any of these shapes, when we have the hips lifted up and you feel more pressure on the head, if at any point it becomes uncomfortable, now you can come up off of your block and set it down and fully rest on your back. But take any shape that suits you today. In a few minutes, I'll invite you back. Start to deepen the breath. Wiggling fingers and toes, letting that gradually become larger movement. Maybe a big full body stretch with a sigh or yawn. Your own time, you can make your way into a seated shape. Eyes can be open or closed. Bring the arms up overhead, palms to touch, and bring them down to the forehead. May your mind be full of positivity and possibility. And your lips. May your words be full of kindness and compassion. Into your heart center. May your heart be full of passion and purpose. Namaste. Thanks for being with me today.